Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever the case may be, wherever you are, and welcome to another great installment of the 52 Weeks of Leadership webinar series presented by the University at Buffalo School of Management Center for Leadership and Organizational Effectiveness. Hi, my name is Jim. I'm an associate professor here at the University at Buffalo, and I'm honored to serve as the faculty director for our Leadership Center. And we do these, well, gosh, we try to do them once a week for about 2 years now, and if you'd like to see some previous installments, just type 52 Weeks of Leadership into your favorite search engine. Should take you right to our webpage. We've got all of our installments up on YouTube right now, so you can also find us there. Thanks very much for subscribing, tracking with us, and learning alongside us as we tackle a variety of topics throughout every year. Well, we've got a little bit of a diversion for you today, a little bit of a different topic. Right now it's November 2022. We're approaching the end of November, and our topic this week is employee voice, and we're partnering this week with the inestimable Seneca Gaming Corporation and their CEO, Kevin Nephew. But we're actually taking a little detour this week to go deep into the research on something that maybe is a little fresher on people's minds towards the end of November. And that's the idea of leadership and gratitude. Now, my theory is that we don't think or talk or exhibit anywhere near enough gratitude in our daily lives except for this part of the year. In fact, research shows that you, me, and everybody around us, we're kind of subconsciously biased where we tend to look at the negatives of our life. It's easy to walk around and see, oh, that's falling apart, that's not going well. It's a little harder to look around, especially in the face of the chaos that's come over the last couple of years, and think, well, here's what I'm thankful for. Here's what I'm going well. Here's what I'm really glad is going on. And as I said, that's not really the way our mind generally works. In fact, we only start to turn to thinking like this usually at the end of November as we approach Thanksgiving time. So I thought it was a good time to talk to you a little bit about the research around gratitude and leadership and its importance not just in organizations and in your leadership style, but also in your life in general. With no disrespect to my vegetarian and vegan friends out there, and as much as I love turkey, I think there's more to Thanksgiving than just maybe one day a year in America. I think there's more even than, kind of the throwaway, okay, well, here's the things I'm thankful for around the dinner table, at dinner one day a year. Maybe what if we could do more of that? So let's dive into gratitude just for about 15, 20 minutes, and let me tell you a little bit about what the research says. Here's how the dictionary defines gratitude: the quality of being thankful, a readiness to show appreciation for and to return kindness. Boy, that sounds nice, doesn't it? It would be nice to be among a group of people, a family, a group of friends, a workplace where that happened a little bit more often. One of my favorite authors, C.S. Lewis, a lot of you have probably heard of him, read his work, highly recommend it if you haven't, wrote in 1958 that the joys we experience in our lives are incomplete until they're expressed. In other words, if there's something we're really happy about, that we're really grateful to have, we're not as happy as we could be unless we go to someone and we say, hey, thank you for helping me to get there. Thank you for being a part of my life as I've attained this. Thank you for your role and where I've gotten. Now, gratitude is very important for organizations, as it turned out. Historically, there's a lot of gratitude in the realm of social psychology. There's not so much in the realm of organizational psychology and in management and leadership sciences, but it's starting to come around. Just in the 21st century, there have been several major papers on the idea of gratitude at work. And is it important? What does it lead to? Well, there's actually some research now that says, yes, it is important, and that it can be an important tool in your leadership utility belt. For instance, research has found that in organizations that exhibit more gratefulness to each other, when members of teams and their leaders talk to each other about how thankful they are for each other's help and what they've done for each other, well, this shouldn't come as a surprise to you. Those teams have much stronger relationships. Now, not only that, though, organizations that feature high levels of gratitude, again, thank you for this, thank you for helping me with that, research shows that they actually become much more resilient in the face of adverse events, in the face of volatile, uncertain, complex, or ambiguous environments like, pandemics. Research shows that in the face of events like this, organizations that have members that display more gratitude to each other, and that includes, by the way, leaders displaying it to their followers and vice versa, those organizations are more resilient and better able to deal effectively, sustainably with challenges in their environment. Here's my favorite, and I'm going to come back to this in a second. Organizations that feature more gratitude between their leaders, their team members, and everybody among them they have employees with greater well-being, greater subjective well-being, which I kind of think of as a fancy word for happiness, for joy at being here. In other words, and this shouldn't surprise you, statistical quantitative research finds and supports the idea in organizations where people thank each other more, express more gratitude, people are happier. And think about it, if people are happier, they're more engaged, they're more satisfied, they're more likely to stay and not participate in this thing I keep reading about called the Great Resignation. And then finally, one more research finding that's come about. Well, when you experience gratitude, you feel like, well, I want to give something back. You want to reciprocate. So as a result of that, in organizations where leaders express more gratitude, their employees are more likely to go above and beyond at work, to volunteer more for the good of the organization. We call this organizational citizenship behavior, or OCB for short. It's basically the idea that some employees do things at work that aren't a part of their job description, but are really great for the organization, like helping out a colleague with a task that they're struggling with, staying late to do something, just cleaning up around it, making the environment a little safer or nicer or more attractive, doing a little bit extra for a customer. These are all examples of what we call organizational citizenship behaviors, and research has found that expressions of gratitude within the workplace are pretty significant predictors of them. So all of this shows why gratitude shouldn't just be a once-a-year thing. It should actually be part of your leadership style. It should be part of your organizational culture, and it is possible to have this as part of your organizational culture. Maybe some of you work at cultures like that. Imagine a place where people are often stopping, pausing to say, hey, thank you for helping me with this. Or maybe even to say to a customer or a client, hey, thanks for choosing us. We know you have options. And I know that you're thinking, well, people say that, yeah, thank you for shopping here today. Come on. When most people say that, they don't mean it. What if they did mean it? Hey, thank you for choosing me. Thank you for choosing us. Entrepreneurs are better at that than big businesses. There's research that certainly shows. But as I said, I want to go back to the last slide, actually, where I said that gratitude is a fundamental component of your subjective well-being, your happiness, your joy. Who wouldn't want that? And I'm not even just talking about at work. Who wouldn't want more of that in their life? Who wouldn't want more contentment, more happiness, more joy? There's a lot of books and self-help experts that can help with this, that claim to be able to help with this. I'm partial to certain philosophical or religious philosophies that can help you attain joy and contentment in your life. But research does show gratitude is a primary component of your subjective well-being. It's a primary component of how happy you are. So that would make me wonder, and to go back to leadership, it's a primary component of how happy your employees are at work. So that would make me think, if I were you, well, okay, how do I get more gratitude in my life? How do I help my employees to experience more gratitude? Well, I mean, one way is just to thank them for things, right? But there's been a lot of research in social psychology, as I said, not in organizational psychology so much, on what makes people happy, on what makes them experience gratitude. And the results might surprise you. Research has shown that gratitude is not at all affected by how old you are. Whether you're old or young, it doesn't make a difference as to whether or not you have more or less to be grateful for and whether or not you express it. Your ethnicity has no effect on your gratitude, on your sense of gratitude, on this fundamental experience of joy and sharing it with others. Your gender has no effect on this. And here's one more thing that has no effect on this that people are genuinely surprised by. Your wealth has nothing to do with this. Your subjective wealth doesn't predict this. And if anything, it might be in the opposite direction that you expect. There's some research that suggests that actually people who are a little less well off, that people who are a little poorer, may actually experience and express more gratitude than those of us who are more fortunate. But if so, it's a weak relationship. You would think that people who have more would have much more to be grateful for, but that's really not what the research shows. It's a little bit depressing. In that, research finds, and we can probably all relate to this to some degree, if you are rich, well, maybe we can't relate to that, but wait for it. If there's something you have that normally you'd be grateful for instance, if you're rich and you normally be grateful for that, and you've been that way for 5 years, let's say you've had a decent salary for the past 5 years, you stop being grateful. And instead you're thinking about, well, why don't I have more? Why am I still making what I made 5 years ago? Why does that person have more, especially if we're on social media? Why does that person have more? It makes us more envious. It makes us more jealous and less grateful. In fact, one of the more depressing studies I've read recently, try saying that 5 times fast, that I've read recently, was about how happy you are with your home. This was a study of homeowners and in typical suburbs. And they were looking at how happy, what's your level of satisfaction with where you live. And after controlling for a lot of the things you'd expect, how long you've been there, they found that how much square footage you have didn't have a big impact. How nice the house was didn't have a big impact. How old it was, how well furnished it was, that stuff didn't have a big impact. You know what had a really big impact? It was how nice your house was as comparison to all the other houses on the block. If you had the biggest house on the block, you're much more likely to be happy with your home. If you've got a beautiful home, but there's one just a little bit nicer down the street from yours, then you're a lot more likely to actually hate your home. The social comparison effect, ladies and gentlemen, is killing us. Be careful on social media. So that's a whole lot about what doesn't predict gratitude. Well, I still haven't answered the question. Well, how can I be more have more gratitude? How can I help my employees to have more gratitude? Well, there are some things that are simple to think. If you are a more cheerful person in general, we call this in the research world positive affect. If you tend to wake up on the right side of the bed, if you tend to see the glass as half full, or in a whimsical way, for instance, I always see the glass as too big, because if it was smaller, then it would be full. If you tend to see the world more like that, you are more likely to express and experience gratitude. Gratitude is essentially, according to the scholar Steindl-Rast, a celebration. A celebration of what we have and what we like to share. So cheerfulness will get you there. But if you're not a naturally cheerful person, or if you're looking for more things, or you just want to work with your people on this and part of your leadership style, here's one. Count your blessings. Count your blessings. Here's an exercise I honestly like to do at least once a day that I got from the research. I just stop and I think to myself, okay, 5 years ago, if I could see where I was now, would I be grateful? What do I have that I could be grateful for right now that I didn't used to have? What can I be grateful for? And maybe it's your kids. Maybe it's your family relationship. Maybe it's a boyfriend or a girlfriend. Maybe it's comfortable clothes you have to wear. Maybe it's a secure home you have. Maybe it's some other aspect of a relationship. Maybe it's the size of your investment account. Maybe it's a new toy you got recently. Who knows? But just to stop and think, what am I grateful for? And to also think to yourself, think about all the people I've interacted with today. Hey, as your leader, I'm asking you, think about all the people you interacted with at work today. Did anybody do something that you're grateful for? Just a quick exercise, a quick question. Think of everybody you worked with today. Did anybody do something that you are grateful for? And would you mind expressing that to them? Now, I think a lot of this is mindfulness. And that's a word that is used and misused a lot. And there are different forms of mindfulness that we study. One that I've been playing a lot with lately is a positive form of mindfulness. Whereas I'm just walking down the hall, I think we are often in the state of mind where when we pass something or we see something, we are primed to see what's wrong with it. Oh, that looks weird. Oh, that's run down. Oh, that doesn't look like that's falling apart. Could you purposely make an effort to, as you look around, say, wow, that's pretty. Wow, I didn't notice that before. That person looks fantastic in that color. Wow, that may be a little bit run down, but it's kind of old. It's got character. I like things like that. It's flipping a switch in your brain and forcing yourself to look at the positives. If you can do that with the things around you, you can do that with the things in your life. You can experience gratitude. Sometimes, especially if you've got a negative employee, it's fun to say, okay, we've seen what's wrong with the way things are now. And that's important, and we want to resolve that. But I also want to talk about the way things are right now. Going back to this idea of mindfulness and positive mindfulness, usually when you do an internet search or you think about a picture that represents mindfulness, you get a picture of someone meditating. Now, I don't know anything about meditation science. I'm more on the prayer side than the meditation side, so I don't know much about that. But I think there is something, this is more my picture of mindfulness. Stopping, pausing and thinking. I did this just this morning in my office. I paused, I stopped, I didn't think about what I still needed to do, I didn't think about what I'd always done, I just thought about where I was at the time and everything that I had around me. And as I thought about that, I could think of a lot of things that I was grateful for. That's an exercise that you can do with your team, and I know it sounds a little new agey and maybe 5 minutes. 5 minutes. Hey, what are we thankful for here where we work? What are we thankful for in terms of each other? What are we thankful for in terms of our colleagues? And I'll give you one more idea to build gratitude. And this is a little self-serving of me because it's a cause I believe very deeply in. But I'll tell you that Once every week, in fact, every Tuesday night, if you'd like to know where to find me, I take my family and we volunteer at a soup kitchen. We actually go to downtown Buffalo, here in West New York, to a place called the Friends of Night People, one of the most effective servicers of the less advantaged here in the city of Buffalo. Every Tuesday night, my family and I, including my kids, we're serving food, we're waiting tables, we're talking to people, we're helping them get services we need, we're helping them get toiletries, we're serving drinks. I usually dress up like a fancy waiter and try to take care of people. And I think that's good for us in a lot of ways. In one way, it helps us to remember how advantaged we are. The things that we have that not all people do, that we really do start to take for granted after a while. And another thing is research shows that when you have a chance to help others, and people express that gratitude to you, that has enormous effects on your subjective well-being, enormous effects on your joy. Because not only does it make you grateful for what you have, you experience the joy of other people being grateful to you for the help they've given to you. I think it's something great to do with your kids or your grandkids if you have any, because again, it helps them to get to know different kinds of people and make them understand, hey, we're all human beings here and we may well have a duty to help each other, and help them to realize, hey, there are things I have that other people don't. How can I help other people? So I love to bring my kids. It's a fantastic thing to do. So again, there's a lot of science behind gratitude. It's a new field just really emerging in the past 20 years, but it's powerful stuff. It shows in your life. It's a core part of your happiness. At work, it's a core component in the relationship quality that your employees have. Their satisfaction with the job, their satisfaction with each other, how resilient your company is, and the degree to which your employees are engaged enough that they would want to go above and beyond to help each other, to help the team, to help the organization. So what's the secret to all of this? Well, it's just saying thanks to each other every now and then, realizing the blessings you have and being grateful for it. It's not something that we should just be doing once a year. It's something that works out very well in our personal lives as well as our professional lives. As a leader, I can't encourage you enough just to spend a couple of minutes with your team sometime in the near future and say to them, hey, glad we're focusing on the things we need to fix. What are we grateful for? What are we happy for? What's gone well? Who do we need to thank for what they've done for us in the last day, the last week, the last month? Just a little simple exercise like that. Maybe once a month, once every 6 weeks, you may see some powerful returns. So that's a little bit on the science of gratitude. Thanks for joining us. Coming up next week on the 52 Weeks of Leadership, we'll be back to our normal schedule with Kevin Nephew, Seneca Gaming Corporation, in a very in-depth talk about how you build a culture in which your employees feel free to speak up. Maybe gratitude will be a part of it. Happy Thanksgiving. We'll see you next time.